far. This is our live transition session. We shall just wait a little moment for people to join in. I'm hoping I've got a very good system today of being able to see questions as they come in. There's a lot of light shining, isn't there, actually? Let me turn them on. It's a little bit dark, but that's better. So we'll just give a minute and let some people join in, and then from there we shall start our little session. I'm hoping that you can all see me and hear me, and that the internet is all right. There is a little bit of an internet issue today, but I'm hoping that we have overcome that issue. So like I say, I'll just give one more minute, see if anyone else wanted to join and watch, and then we shall get started. In the meantime, I'll try and get the questions section working for a change. Oh no, that's not what I need to do. Hopefully it's going to work. Well, that's all loading. I'll just explain a couple of things. So, I've received quite a lot of questions recently from people to do with transition, and obviously with some of the government guidelines changing, people have got a few more questions as well. I've made a note of them. Some of the questions may be ones that we've visited before in other sessions, but we'll go through them again. And then what I'll do, if you have any other questions as we're going along, if you write them on the comments on Facebook, what I will then attempt to do, if it all works, is then go and look through your comments. So at the end then we'll go through any extra questions that people have got, or anything else that they want to know. And then I'll tell you about how you can ask further questions in the future as well, because this is our last live question and answer session on transition. However, there are lots of other ways that you can get information, that we'll be sharing information as we move forward. So we've got 17 people so far. That may change as time goes up or time goes down. But we'll make a start with some of the questions. Like I say, if you want to ask a question, write it in the comments, and then when I get to the end of all these questions, I will attempt, if the internet works on my iPad, to have a look and see those questions and then answer them. So, first question, and this comes through from quite a few people, and some different conversations with colleagues and parents and teachers in other schools as well, is, will the induction days on the 6th and 7th of July still be taking place? And unfortunately, I can't give you a definitive answer of that at the minute. We're working really hard as a school to look at a range of different options and what might happen in terms of induction days. Obviously, what would normally happen is that all of the new students would come in for 2 days, and they would get to meet their progress tutor, lots of the key staff, take part in lots of activities, get to know each other, and that would all happen after our induction evening, which would be the week before. Now, like I say, I cannot confirm at the minute whether that will happen or not. We have to wait and see how things go with schools reopening, what the government guidelines are like at the time, and at the end of the day, we have to make a judgment as a school whether we can do that safely for the students, the families, the staff members, everything like that. What I will say is that even if we can't do the induction days in the way we normally would, some way we will have those opportunities for the students to complete the tasks, whether that's done through online and online videos and packs that I send out to you, or whether in September when the students start we restructure the days slightly or use extended form times to complete those activities. We will be doing that. You know, we're very aware as a school that not just for the new Year 7 cohort, but also for students in every year group, coming back to school, getting used to a school routine will be a challenge at first. So we know that all students are going to need that support. And obviously that change from a primary school to a secondary school means that students will need that extra bit of support as well. So in terms of the induction days, I cannot confirm yet. As soon as we know, and as soon as we've finalised our plans and know what's going to be possible, I will let you all know, and you know, hopefully we will get something sorted before September, but if not, certainly in September we'll make sure those time and opportunities are there. The next couple of questions kind of follow on from that idea of, are things going to happen? So the next question is, will the summer school at the end of August be taking place? And again, it's something I can't fully answer yet. Obviously, the end of August is quite a way away. Things appear nationally to be improving in terms of the coronavirus, and obviously schools are starting to look at reopening and reintroducing certain year groups. Whether or not we will still be at a stage at the end of August to run a summer school and to make sure it's safe and that the students get as much out of it as they want to, again, I'm not sure yet. But as soon as I do know about that, as soon as we find out any more information about that, then I can obviously let you all know. And hopefully it will take place. Obviously, the summer school is free for all students, so there's no worry in terms of a payment for that. So even if we have to make that decision quite late on, it will still be open to students regardless of pay if we can. The third question relating to things that are still running: will the Colomendy trip in October be taking place? And I'm sorry, but I'm going to have a similar answer again. We can't be 100% sure at this time whether it will take place or not. What I will say is the deadline for the deposit would have been due in on the 7th of July, which would have been the end of the second induction day. So what I'd say to parents is hold off at the minute in terms of deposits. We may have more of an idea, that's over a month away, so we may have more of an idea by then. And if not, obviously, then we'll have to work with the travel company on extending the deadline for certain payments and deposits if the trip can go ahead. If it can't go ahead, we're only at the very start of year 7, so there will be other opportunities, I have no doubt, either in year 7 or in year 8, for us to do a similar trip if it can't happen in October. But, fingers crossed it will. Hopefully, we'll be in a position to do that trip at that stage. But if not, we will make sure there's other things in place, throughout the coming years for students as well. So they're the kind of questions about what things are going ahead and what things will be cancelled. And I'm sorry, I know they're not the most concrete answers in the world. And unfortunately, that's just because we can't give them at the minute. Hopefully, you've seen through a lot of our communication that as soon as we do have answers to things, we do share that with parents through social media, through letters, through emails, and we will continue to do so. Next question then, which links to communication actually. How will communication and contact take place moving forward? So hopefully all of the new year 7 parents received an email from me at the end of last week. It should have come from an email address about being a new starter in year 7. If you haven't received that email, if you could get in touch, that would be really, really good, because a lot of the information that we're going to share moving forward will be through that email address, including some of the forms that you might need to complete, some activities you might want to get involved in, and also just up-to-date information on things like induction days, summer schools, Colomendy trip, everything like that. The email address, we have been using pastoral@thegrangeacademy.co.uk. If you forget this new email address, you can still use that, but we now have a special email address just for the Year 7 students on their transition. And I'll try and put this in the comments at the end of the video, and it is new starters, with an S on the end of starters, Year 7 at thegrangeacademy.co.uk. That's new starters, Year 7 at thegrangeacademy.co.uk. That is the email address I emailed all parents on last week. So if you haven't received that email, if you check your junk box, and if not, it could be that we don't have quite the correct email address for you. So do contact school either by ringing or by emailing that email address now to confirm your email address. I'll remind you of that again at the end, because I know it's quite a long name. So that's kind of how a lot of the communication and contact will take place moving forward, and contact with primary schools is still happening. Information gathering and making sure that we know lots about your child is still going on as well. When will we find out our child's progress tutor? And I think this is a question that came up in one of the previous sessions as well. What would normally happen is when you came on the induction evening, so just before the induction day, so that's the first week of July, you would then find out your form group, who your progress tutor is. You would spend, 45 minutes, an hour with your progress tutor on that evening, finding out lots of key information. Now, obviously, that may not be possible, but the time frame is probably going to be similar. So the end of June, beginning of July is when I will be able to confirm your form group and who your progress tutor, also known some places as a form tutor, is. And, if we can't do that face-to-face, again, that will go out through the email system. What will then happen, if that is the case, is that all of the progress tutors will record a little welcome video, introducing themselves and going through some of the key information as well. So we can't do it face-to-face, we will be able to do it virtually. Other questions about form groups then? Another question about progress tutors. Will we get to meet the progress tutor before September? One way or another, you kind of will be introduced to them. If it's through a video kind of link and a preparation video that they send out with information, then it'll be through that. If we can obviously get parents and students in at some stage, we 100% will. But just to let you know, really early on, and this is the same in any year group, we have a settling in parents evening. Now that happens before the October half term. So that will be an opportunity for you to meet the progress tutor then. We are really hopeful that in some format that will still, be able to happen in the kind of October time. Hopefully things will be in a position by then to allow us to do that. But that will be an opportunity to meet the progress tutor face-to-face, hopefully, if we haven't been able to do that beforehand. Again, with all these things, I'm trying to give a kind of worst-case scenario idea of what might happen. If we can do other things, we will do. If we can get parents and students in beforehand, we will do. If you can have that face-to-face interaction with progress tutors and other staff, again, we will do. The last question really about form groups then. Will my child be in a form group with their friends? Friendship groups are a really key consideration when we are putting together the form groups and thinking about progress tutors as well. It's not the only factor though, and I just want to be really clear that we've got to think about your child overall. Friendship group is important, but also maybe thinking about whether those friends are always the right influences, whether those friends are the right people for them to be grouped with. We have to take that into account as well. Also thinking about the progress tutor that may suit their needs most, other children from other schools who may have similar interests and hobbies, to help start to develop other friendships as well. So yes, we will always take into account friendship groups. And what I can usually say is that where there's children coming from schools where there's multiple students coming from that school, we nearly always put at least a couple of those students in a form together. That's unless parents or teachers think it's not the right idea. If you're the only person coming from your school and perhaps you don't know anyone else, we will really look for those interests that you have, the type of personality you have, and try and link you with people who you may get along with well to help you make friendships. But yes, in theory, children will be in groups with at least some of their friends, but we have to think about what is best for the child and their education and whether being with those people is the right move for them. Next question. So that's everything really about the form groups and progress tutors for now, unless anyone comments on the thing that I'm going to look at in a minute. Will my child... No, we've done that one, sorry. My child has additional needs or special education needs. How will we find information about support? So again, a big part of our transition programme usually is additional transition sessions. And this is where specific and bespoke groups are invited into school for additional days or mornings, or sometimes it's like a coffee afternoon after school, sometimes it's an additional tour with a parent, and sometimes it's multiple sessions because that's what that child needs. We are really, really keen to still ensure that students with additional needs or with specific things that they may be worried or concerned about still have the best possible transition and get to meet key staff. Now again, as with a lot of things I've said today, if we are in a position to bring students in and for students to meet key members of staff and spend extra time in school, complete tours around the building, create visual timetables, all those type of things, then we will do. If we can't do that, however, similar to what we're going to do with the progress tutor videos, we will ensure that the SEN team and key SEN staff introduce themselves. We have videos. We will include as part of our tours that are going to come out after half term a tour of the SEN areas and key rooms that students may need to access at different times. Also linked to that, the pastoral office where that is if students have any key concerns. So it is something that we are considering and thinking about already. If we can bring students in, we will. And again, if not, in September, we will make sure there's that time spent for students to meet those key staff who they may need to know and be part of those groups they need to be part of to support their transition and then their education as they move through as well. Will students be set in September? How will you do this with no SAT scores? So yes, students will be placed into sets when they start in September. They will be put into groups with children of similar abilities. Now, although we're not going to have kind of firm SAT scores like we would do normally, what we will have and what we've got from all of your teachers is a really strong idea of where you were up to. Were you at that expected standard? How strong were you at that expected standard? Were you just there? Were you strong? Did you need support in certain subjects, not in others? Were you working at greater depth and we should be pushing you straight away, heading towards those 7s, 8s and 9s at GCSEs? So we will take into account everything that your teachers are saying to us as well. But also we know that there are other factors that we need to take into account. So what will happen in September, or quite soon after you begin with us, is that we will be completing some form of baseline with you, particularly in English and maths, but other subjects will complete baselines as well, that will allow us to see where you're up to, where you've got certain strengths, even down to like a topic-based level, because, you know, there may be students who, particularly in maths, are really strong at one area, but need support in other areas. And it'll help us to get a picture of each individual student, and then classes, and then the year group as a whole as well. What I don't want people to worry about is that if you're placed in a certain set or class in September, that is where you'll stay for the next 5 years of your education, because that's not how it works. We review the sets regularly, and although it's very rare that we have to make massive changes, there are obviously students who do need to move and change around at different points. Particularly once we've completed the baselines and seen how students are settling in, we will then look at sets. But what I just ask for parents and students is that you are kind of patient with us in terms of that. It's no point us putting people into a group and then after 1 week changing them straight away. Because there are a lot of factors that come into play when it comes to transition. Obviously, we need to see students settling in as they make new friendship groups. Also, as they get used to the way that we do things here at the Grange, the way that they need to access their homework, maybe some methods and teaching styles that they've not been used to before. Maybe certain subjects where in primary school, their school hasn't done that subject as much, and we'll do it a lot more. So we need to balance and consider all of those key areas, and that isn't going to happen overnight. You know, we'll need that first half term at least to see where students are up to, baseline them, and also, you know, we do have to take into account that students left, you know, year 6, and I know a lot of students will be returning to schools, but left before SAT, and therefore there may be certain gaps in knowledge, or there may be things that students have forgot, or, you know, maybe some students haven't been in the position to be completing lots of work at home or accessing some of their home learning. All those things have to be taken into consideration as well. And within the planning we're doing as a school, we will make sure that there is an opportunity to fill any gaps that students have, and, you know, to plan our curriculum to see where students are up to, not spend lots of time on things that they already know, because that's a waste of learning time, but also to make sure that we're not moving on too quickly, and maybe that some of the time that they have lost in year 6, you know, we keep building those skills and making sure that they're ready for our kind of year 7 curriculum. So that's the information really about setting, and like I say, that is a process that we review really, really regularly, not just at the start of year 7, but throughout your child's education as well. Next one, what equipment and uniform do we need to have ready for September? Now, in the transition booklet that you will have received when your child got given their place at the Grange, along with the welcome letter, you will find a section all about uniform and equipment. In terms of uniform, it's really clear there what we expect, and the uniform is for sale from Boydell's in Widnes. I would suggest a parent, you know, thinking about getting the uniform over the summer holidays. I know some people have already been in contact, but obviously people can go through growth spurts, so give it a bit of time to make sure your child doesn't kind of grow out of the uniform before they've even begun with us. But it's really, really clear. So, you know, one of the things that I just want to make so clear now is about the shoes, and they need to be black leather polishable shoes. Okay, so not with logos, not with extra bits added on, not Nike's version of a school shoe, or because this company said that this is a school shoe. You know, just be sensible with it, really. If it's a full black leather polishable shoe, then that will be fine. And like I say, with no logos on it. And if you're unsure, please send pictures through and we will tell you, and do that obviously before you buy the shoes, because we have had people in the past, you know, who spent quite a lot of money on shoes that aren't suitable and they've had to change them very quickly. You know, uniform is really important. It's about students being, you know, well presented, wanting to wear the uniform because they're part of the Grange Academy, but also, you know, whatever line of work students go into, there will be certain expectations. In some areas, it's a lot stricter than others in terms of what people need to wear, but there'll always be those expectations of what people either need to wear or equipment they need to have or the way they need to present themselves, and that's really important to us. In terms of equipment, I think we did mention this in the last session, everybody needs to have a black pen, a blue pen, a pencil, a ruler, a protractor, a scientific calculator, and a pencil case as well. So you need to try and make sure you've got all those things in place already. And then what will happen in terms of addition to that, if people want to bring in kind of colours or, felt tips, highlights and things like that, that's absolutely fine. But every morning when you go to your form room, you will be asked to get out those pieces of equipment and for us to see that you've got them with you and do what's called a ready for learning check, because you just don't know what you're going to need in each lesson. And those basics will cover, all the things that teachers would require. Anything else we can provide for you as well. But it is really important that you take the responsibility to have that equipment with you. So I think that covers everything to do with equipment and uniform. We talked a lot last time about kind of mobile phones, jewellery, hair colours and everything like that. You can also find all that information in the transition booklet that we sent through. Next question then. Will enrichment and extracurricular activities start straight away in September? Again, I'm sorry, I cannot give a definitive answer to that. Usually the sessions would start a couple of weeks in. We usually hold an enrichment fair, which I've mentioned before, where you can come and see everything that's on offer. But whether or not we will be able to do that straight away in September, I'm not sure. But please be assured that as soon as we can, we will be running our, enrichment and extracurricular programme, and it's something that we are always looking to develop. And from the first video when Miss Bibby came in, you'll remember she was saying if you have any ideas for clubs that you want or any suggestions, then obviously just let us know, and where we can put extra clubs on that students want, we will do as well. So yeah, in terms of enrichment and extracurricular activities, as soon as we can get those started in September, we will do. What work can my child do to prepare for September? What would normally happen is when the students came in on the induction days or the induction evenings, we would include as part of the pack some kind of brain gym activities, some little things that they could be doing over the summer holiday to just keep the brain kind of active, keep them used to, problem solving, looking at things, doing bits of writing. In a way, there are more challenges this year because some students may have been out of education for longer. And as I mentioned before, some students may have struggled to access certain elements of home learning. Whatever you can do just to keep things kind of ticking over and going over the summer holidays will be great. Yes, obviously we want students to enjoy their summer holidays and have that time with family and hopefully be able to go out and do the things they want to do. But even if it's just a day a week that they spend an hour or so doing some little activities just to keep the brain engaged, just to recap some of the things they've learnt before, it is really, really helpful. And then it's less of a shock to the system in September when students come back to school. So anything that you can do. We will share some resources which will probably be sent out through email, like I say, some of those brain gym packages that you can look at, and also some online resources as well. One thing that this situation has meant is that so many places now have provided some really, really excellent resources online, not just for kind of year 6 students and not just in English, maths and science as well, in lots of other subjects as well. So there should be things that you can access, like I say, just to keep going, just to keep yourself used to doing little bits of work and things like that. Last question I've got on here, and then I shall try and have a look and see if we've got any questions in the comments. How can we share more information with you about our child and ask other questions we may have? Like I said earlier on, this is the last live question and answer session, and it will be saved to the page once we've finished as well. That does not mean the end of the information that we will give to you, and certainly not the end of the information that you can give to us. As part of the email that I sent out to parents and carers last week, what I did say is that anyone could book in a either one-to-one phone call or video call with myself to discuss in more detail your child, their strengths, their needs perhaps, anything they're worried about, and ask any questions. I've already had some parents who've signed up for that, which is fantastic, and we've completed some of those calls. If you would like to have a video call or a phone call, then if you email us on that new address that we've got, New Starters Year 7 at thegrangeacademy.co.uk, and we can arrange that. One of the things I said in the email is don't worry if perhaps you're working and therefore the normal school day would not be suited for you. I can book in appointments, in an evening, at weekends, whatever's going to suit, so we can get that information through. I would always normally try and visit all primary schools and speak to parents beforehand. So this is just a different way that we can still do that. And for some of you, you may feel like you've kind of got all the answers to questions that you want. Your child feels really happy with things. You already know a lot about the school and what's going to happen. and that's absolutely fine as well. But the offer is there. You can email at any stage if you don't want a phone call or video call, but you've just got a quick question that you want to ask. That is absolutely fine as well. So please do not think that because this is the last live Q&A, that is the end of the information. I will continue sending bits out. You can ask questions at any point, and that goes right through the summer as well, and obviously into September, and as your child starts with us at the Grange Academy or moves up to the secondary phase if they're already here in primary. What I'm going to attempt to do now is have a look in the comments, but my iPad isn't working, so I'm going to just have to come out for a second and see. I don't want to write a comment. If I can, but I'm not sure if I can. If you just give me a second, I shall try and get it to do what I want it to do. I'm just going to move this for a second and see if I can actually get my iPad to load. If for some reason this won't load, which is not necessarily looking great at the minute, if you've written comments, then what I will do is reply underneath them and make them public so that everyone who's watching the video can see as well the replies to those comments about the questions. And like I say, any other questions that you have, any other queries, if you want more information or if you want that opportunity for us to have that one-to-one conversation, please email New Starters Year 7 at thegrangeacademy.co.uk. This video I will try and put up on the YouTube channel as well, so it's there for your reference. But yes, we shall continue to gather information. We will keep you informed of everything that's happening and any decisions that are made. And in the meantime, like I say, if you have any questions, please let us know. Thank you very much for watching, and we look forward to seeing you all soon. Stay safe.